What up, YouTube? So this is going to be part 4 of the Honda Civic DX k20z3 swap, and today we will be dropping in the engine. So we pretty much are prepped up to this point. If you haven't seen the last videos, which is part 1, 2, and 3, so this is where we're at right now so far. We're going to get ready to clean this motor actually first before we drop it in, and we still have to do some prep work. We still got to actually take this engine harness off since it is a drive-by throttle. So there is no cable throttle. We're going to be putting the Acura RSX Type S harness on here, and then we're going to be taking off this pump. We won't be using that, and taking off this mount. We won't be using that, and taking off the exhaust manifold, and basically just cleaning it all up and getting it ready to swap in right now. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and start spraying some purple powder on here, and we'll come back after we have the engine harness off, and then we'll start installing the other one, and I'll show you guys how to actually install a Type S engine harness on the k20z3. All right, so we're back now, and the motor's all cleaned up. I got the engine harness taken apart, and I took out all the mounts that I wasn't going to use. So took off the one in the rear right here that holds on to the oil pan. Took the one off of the transmission since we won't be using that, and then we took the one off the front as well. Other than that, we have to also take off the oil pressure sensor. This sensor is different from the one that's going to be on the Type S that I'll be using. So I'll be using this one. It's kind of like a CRV one, or older model Type S type sensor. So we're going to be using that. Still got to take off the exhaust manifold, but still cleaning up the motor a little bit. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and get the harness real fast so we can start installing it. So on this motor I'm using an 0506 RSX Type S harness, and the reason why is because it's a lot cheaper to run when you're running this Hall sensor, which is your speed sensor, and the 0506 comes with the same style sensor. So if I used 02 to 04, I would have to get a speed converter, which is like 160, and I paid like 200 for the harness itself. So it actually saved you some money. So I picked this harness up off of OfferUp for like 200 bucks. It's your basic Type S engine harness. I will still need a charge harness since it didn't come with it, but it's all good. So I wanted to kind of show you guys how to install it, just in case you guys need help. So what I like to do is start with the very simple stuff, which is the coil packs plugs, because then that kind of puts everything into perspective. So there's 4 plugs, and you simply, all you have to do is just plug them in. So we'll start here. It's a little hard to do this one-handed, especially with your left hand. Alright, so coil packs are all installed. The next simple thing else that we can do, that I like to do, is the injector plugs. Since they're right next to them, it's very simple. So they literally just line up, connect these. K-series is really easy on the plugs, like when it comes down to like B and D series, because you just literally have to clip them, and they're done. All right, so we got basically half the harness connected. Now we're gonna come down our side where we have our oil pressure sensor right here. Just gonna connect that, and then you got VTEC, and then this is the reason why we're gonna have to change out that sensor, because it's different, as you can see. And then we got VDC, and we got crank sensor. Other than that, over here we got, well, we got our drive-by throttle, so we're gonna have to change out the throttle body on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off and install an Accord one that has a throttle cable, so we can use that, since we're not gonna be able to run this throttle body. So that's where all these other sensors are going to be running to, as far as map sensor and TPS, which is right here. And then you got intake air temperature sensor. And then we have our speed sensor, which we can plug in. And then we have reverse lockout. And then we have our reverse lights. Other than that, we have our crank sensor. Or not crank, I'm sorry. These are our valve camshaft sensors, actually. Might have to wiggle that out. Sometimes you might have to take the wires off, especially on K24s, in order to get these kind of lined up good, but sure. All right, so that's on, and then we got our last sensor down here, which is our temperature sensor right there. So just gotta find that. Probably gonna have to extend it. So I'll extend that a little later when we do the oil pressure. Other than that though, like I said, these are just for the throttle body, and then these two right here are gonna be for your charge harness. So this is your starter wire, and then these plug basically is your knock sensor, and then your 4 wires off of your alternator. So I'll show you guys a little later when I make my own charge harness how to do that. Right now I'm basically gonna start getting the coupe ready. We got the mounts over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start installing the rear one. And this one right here, this is our main bracket that we have to get for our passenger side. So we're gonna install that right now, install the rear one, and get ready to get this motor to drop in. So also we gotta take off the exhaust manifold before we put the motor inside. So right now, we'll go ahead and install our mounts, and then we'll come back. All right, so now that we're back, just want to show you guys we got our rear mount on. That's all good. And we got our passenger mount all drilled up and secured at the bottom. So all we have to do now is bring the motor over here and start dropping it in, or maybe just bring the car over here. Motor's all cleaned up with the RSX harness, and so it's ready. I put the rear bracket on here too as well. So now all I have to do is take off the exhaust manifold, and we should be able to drop this motor in. So I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna turn the car around, bring it over here, and drop the motor, and we'll see how it looks after the motor is dropped in. All right, so we got the motor just inside the bay right now. I just kind of wanted to go over my technique on how I like to drop the motor in. So I like to line it up with the rear and do the rear mount first, and then I usually go from left to right, depending on the setup. But yeah, it's been a lot easier for me for the last time to do the rear, the left, and then the right. So just want to show you guys that real fast. We're gonna go ahead and lift the motor up and get the mounts all installed. All right, guys, so we are finally back with the motor dropped in. And if you guys wanted to know what kind of mounts I'm using, they're like Osiris or something. They're eBay mounts, but they do work. I mean, some people prefer Hasport because of the name, but I really haven't had any problems with eBay mounts, so it is what it is. But yeah, this dropped in, harness is connected. Next video we'll be putting on the exhaust manifold. I'll probably start wiring it up, fuel system, and change out the throttle body. A couple other things we'll be doing, but still got a lot of other projects to finish. Finishing up the Spider today. We got the Z1 I'm finishing up also. A lot of projects still coming through. Del Sol, the EK hatchback, we'll be doing a video tomorrow, finishing that all up, making sure it's ready to go to the customer as well. Just a lot more stuff to go through this week, so we'll be having a video every day. If you haven't, like, share, subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys think. And stay tuned, guys. We got a lot more stuff coming ahead, and see you guys next time.